You were born in Brooklyn.
I was born in Brooklyn, yes, which is a province of New York.
Was there something special about being Jewish in Brooklyn at that time in New York?
No, everybody was. Every single human being in Brooklyn was a Jew at that point, so there was nothing special about it. It was quite ordinary. It was a pedestrian thing to be.
Mel Brooks has spent his life defying the conventions of comedy and breaking barriers in the entertainment world. His films and humor, laced with biting satire, have reshaped not only the comedic landscape, but have also sparked conversations about identity, culture, and the human experience. But as Brooks enters his later years, his message on his Jewish identity and anti-Semitism has never been clearer, louder, and more personal. In a powerful 2001 interview with Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes, Brooks declared, "I'm a Jew. What's wrong with that?" His voice, which often crackled with sarcasm and humor, took on a note of frustration as he confronted the ingrained prejudices that had shaped his life and career. With a deeply rooted sense of Jewish pride, Brooks was eager to reclaim his identity, not as a stereotype or an object of ridicule, but as a source of strength and resilience. Born Melvin Kaminsky in Brooklyn in 1926 to a Jewish family, Brooks grew up in an environment that blended Jewish culture with the hard knocks reality of the streets. The world he inhabited was shaped by the immigrant experience, a world where every joke, every quip carried the weight of history. His sense of humor, which would later define his career, was deeply influenced by his Jewish upbringing. Yiddish humor, with its mix of sarcasm, self-deprecation, and resilience, infused his work from the beginning. Brooks's comedic sensibilities were honed through early life experiences and shaped by the interactions with his Jewish community in Brooklyn. However, his comedic focus was not limited to his ethnicity. It became a gateway through which he could comment on society and culture at large, blending Jewish identity with universal themes. As he navigated through his career, he found himself inevitably pulling from his Jewish heritage, weaving it into his humor in ways that were bold, biting, and often irreverent. He once remarked that the reason he focused on his ethnicity was because of a deep-seated anger at anti-Semitism.
I mean, I went to Manhattan and I met all these Gentiles and it was a little frightening. That was frightening. I said, my God. You mean there are other people besides Jews in the world? I mean, so that we never felt any anti-Semitism or any strangeness. Had we been transported to Nebraska or Kansas or Abilene, Texas, yes, we would have felt. What the hell is that thing there talking in that Jew talk? What the hell is so little itty bitty people? It's so short, so funny, and they can count.
A theme that would resonate throughout his life and career. Brooks's humor is not just a means of entertainment, but a tool of resistance against the forces of hate and bigotry. In the 60 Minutes interview, Brooks opens up about the profound influence of anti-Semitism on his work. Maybe because I'm angry, who knows? Brooks reflected, it may be a deep-seated anger at anti-Semitism. Yes, I am a Jew. I am a Jew. What about it? What's so wrong? What's the matter with being a Jew? His words echoed with the emotional weight of someone who had lived through and experienced the sting of prejudice, and through humor, he found a way to fight back. Brooks's comic sensibilities were shaped by the rampant anti-Semitism he faced growing up, particularly during his time in the U.S. Army. Serving in World War II, Brooks recalled the harsh insults hurled at him by fellow soldiers. Jew boy, out of my way, Jew boy. For Brooks, those words were not just slurs, they were a painful reminder of the hatred that pervaded society. This experience of being marginalized and dehumanized is what would later fuel much of his satirical approach to Hollywood, American culture, and the world at large. His defiance took a powerful form. In the face of the unrelenting hate he experienced, Brooks's genius was in using laughter as a weapon. Making people laugh at their oppressors became a lifelong mission for him, especially when it came to one of his greatest targets, Adolf Hitler. In his films, Brooks took aim at Nazism, parodying Hitler in ways that were irreverent, absurd, and most importantly, laughable. For Brooks, ridicule was the ultimate form of revenge against a figure like Hitler, who had orchestrated the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. In his film, The Producers, Brooks creates the infamous musical number Springtime for Hitler, a satirical mockery of Nazi propaganda, turning Hitler into a joke and showing the world that no one, not even the most brutal dictators, is beyond beyond mockery. Brooks's ability to ridicule the worst forms of hate and prejudice is, in many ways, the essence of his Jewishness, fighting back against those who would oppress him, his people, and the human spirit, all while making people laugh. Brooks is a man who has always gone against the grain. His comedy is subversive. His films such as Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and High Anxiety were more than just parodies. They were acts of defiance. In every genre Brooks tackled, from the Western to horror, he took on the role of the outsider, challenging the norms of cinema and society.
You put that in their dish in a little water to soften up because it'll cut their gums. You don't want a little Jew bleeding all over your carpet. You give them the machos and the little Jews, and they love you for it. They love you for it. They're wonderful people. And I'm going to get another one. I'm going to try, I think, get a female, and I'm going to breed them. I'm going to breed these little Jews, and I'm going to sell them as little Jew accounts to everybody in Texas.
In Blazing Saddles, for instance, Brooks took on the mythology of the American West, deconstructing the racist tropes that had long been entrenched in popular culture. The film's success, both as a commercial hit and a critical success, solidified Brooks as one of Hollywood's most daring filmmakers. Brooks didn't just make fun of the powers that be, he also mocked the system that allowed those powers to thrive. His anti-establishment attitude is a thread that runs throughout his entire career, from his earliest days as a writer on Your Show of Shows to his more recent Broadway successes. Brooks, as a Jewish comic, embodied the spirit of defiance, refusing to conform to anyone's expectations. His work is about showing that laughter and ridicule can be powerful tools of resistance against the oppressors, and no one is exempt from his sharp wit. As Brooks approaches his later years, his legacy as a Jewish iconoclast is firmly established. His films are not just comedies, they are reflections on the struggles of identity, oppression, and resilience. He remains in many ways the epitome of the Jewish comic genius.
Melvin Kaminsky, 122333183. That was my serial number. It means I'm an enlisted. But I enlisted to go to college, not to be, in foxholes and be shot at. But listen, that's what happens in a war. Being a kid of 17, 18, I was a peacenik, I was against war, but I knew what Hitler was doing to Jews, so...
Someone who transformed his ethnic identity from something to be ashamed of into a source of power and pride. Brooks's comedy continues to serve as a reminder that humor can heal, that even in the face of oppression and hatred, we can find laughter. It's that defiance, that refusal to accept the status quo that has made him one of the most beloved figures in American comedy. And, as Brooks himself says, what's wrong with being a Jew? Nothing at all. For Mel Brooks, being a Jew is not just a part of who he is, it's at the very core of what makes his comedy so powerful, so subversive, and so necessary. Through his work, Mel Brooks has shown the world that Jewishness is not something to be hidden or marginalized. It is a source of pride, a source of defiance, and most importantly, a source of laughter. So, next time you watch a Mel Brooks film, remember, it's not just a joke, it's a statement, a declaration, a call to arms against the forces that would try to silence us. I'm a Jew, what's wrong with that? Mel Brooks' final message is loud and clear. Embrace who you are, fight back with humor, and never apologize for being yourself.